Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Casa podcast. As your boy Kojo back again, I'm super excited to be back. Today, we're going to have an extension of our conversation, the conversation that we've been having over the last couple of weeks, right? About millennials and why they're not settling down and building relationships. And um, we had a conversation, and it pointed us out to talking to people, meeting people, being transparent, and being the things we should keep private. Today, I have Kwesi Frost and Ifya Yeboah in the house. We're going to continue our conversation and we're going to dive deeper into some of these things. Guys, how are you doing?
We- Wow, we're
I'm
good. We're
great.
good.
I'm great. I'm great. Can't complain. Sunday
You can't
fun day.
complain.
Oh, I see.
Hey, Mr. Frost, you're not keeping it frosty at all. You're not keeping it frosty at all. Anyway, how was your week? How was your week?
Oh, I had a good week, I guess.
Hmm. You guess.
Yeah, I
What
know
did you get
really
into?
nothing productive as usual.
Just chilling, huh?
Just chilling. Yeah,
Just
that's my
chilling.
last week of chilling. So I had
Hmm.
to really
I
chill and
see.
chill well.
Mr. Watchesella. Oh, how was your week? What did you get into?
No watching, but the usual, just the hustle, and
How's the Watches
hustle and the
selling going?
grind. We're gonna be picking up steam a little bit. It's decent. Can't complain.
That's good. That's good. At least everyone had a great week.
Did
And
you?
oh yeah, I did. I had a great week. Slow, steady, but it was pretty good. I can't
Mm.
complain too, just like Mr. Frost is not complaining. But we're
Mm-hmm.
going to be we're going to be talking about privacy and transparency. Last time you guys were saying millennials are not getting married because they don't know what to keep private and what to be transparent about. And so they
Yeah.
send people who are interested in them running the opposite direction. Now, let's get into the conversation. What are some of the things we should keep private, and what are some of the things we should share, we should put out on our socials, we should be spreading out there? But before we do that, I think definition should
Uh-huh.
be key. What do you
Yeah.
guys mean when you talk about privacy and transparency? What exactly are you guys talking about?
Hmm. I mean, I would start with transparency
Mm-hmm.
because that is something I'm very big on.
Mm-hmm.
It's just basically no lying. I mean, if you're not going to, it will be better not to talk than to talk and then lie,
Okay.
right?
Mm.
And yeah, so if I know you're not talking, I know okay, you're holding
Mm-hmm.
back an information,
Mm-hmm.
which I'll decide to do what you want to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
But then to say something and then lie, that's a big deal. Like, no. And so I
Interesting.
think transparency is basically like in simple words,
Mm-hmm.
not lying,
Not
just
lying.
being open
Hmm.
about a situation or about something. But
Huh.
privacy has more to do with like rights
Mm-hmm.
and your personal information and how you
Mm-hmm.
keep to share it with the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Mr. Frost, what do you think?
Just like Ifia said, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I believe privacy is more on the legal side.
Mm.
Legally you have the right to privacy. I don't have to tell you my social security number. I have to tell you how much money I make, but I'm protected.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you ask
Mm-hmm.
me, I said no. Yeah, like, but transparency is it's the same. It's the same. I think I agree with what if you said, not
Hmm.
lying, not lying.
Hmm.
If you want to date, you want your relationship, say it. If you just
Mm-hmm.
want some
Mm.
booty, just say it. Just speak. It's
I
It's like a
see.
monetization.
So so
the
so but when I agree that it has to do with the rights and all those fun stuff, right? When it comes to
Mhm.
yeah.
privacy, your right to keep your personal stuff to yourself. But AY gave me a definition of transparency that was rather interesting. Right? Well, don't not lying is a great thing, right? But withholding information and not sharing. Wouldn't transparency be actually being open and honest about something? So isn't being open a critical component? Isn't that a necessary condition?
No. So let's say I
Mm.
ask a question and then you tell me, okay, this thing is something I don't want to talk about.
Hmm.
Then I
Okay.
know probably, there's
Okay.
something that it's like it's gonna take time. You can't just start talking about it because of probably the level you guys are on. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't talk about this now.
Mm.
But maybe with
Mm.
time, it's going to get there.
Mm.
It's better to me. I
Mm-hmm.
know, okay, there's something that I need to know, but you think we are not on the right
Mm-hmm.
level to actually discuss that.
Mm.
It's better than saying, like, lying outrightly. Like, when I
Okay.
ask, you just be like, oh no, it's not, you just lie, and then later you find out, and like, you could have just said you didn't want to discuss it, or
Talk
give it
about it.
time,
Mm.
something just to make me know, okay, there's an information, but you're holding on to it for some time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is not transparency. Even though openness is being open is telling me, yes,
Mm-hmm.
there's an information, but I don't think you're on the right level to discuss it now.
Okay.
So let's give it time. You get it.
Should
It's
I
not.
deflect the question when asked?
Hmm.
uh,
That's an interesting one. Do you
it will
deflect?
depend. No, you don't deflect. So the person
Hmm.
has asked, okay, what do you, where, maybe what do you do, or where do you work, or something, and you
Mm-hmm.
feel like that is, a bit too early to access
Mm-hmm.
that question. You
Mm-hmm.
feel like, oh, where I work, I do work. I work maybe in, this is security or something, and I
Mm-hmm.
would not want to talk about it now. Let's give it
Mm-hmm.
some time. We'll talk about what
Okay.
exactly, where exactly I work.
Hmm.
Mm.
Interesting.
So
Uh,
we could give a broad um idea of
I'm
what
into
you
oil and
do.
gas and not
I mean,
going
to
to the
yeah,
specific that you
then
sell palm oil and
yes. So there,
okay,
you know
okay.
that I'm giving you the
Hmm.
brother view. The detail will come later. So that is the
Hmm.
difference. The
Hmm.
detail will come later. No, and
Hmm.
then later, I mean, that will depend on how you guys want to,
But AY, couldn't it be very misleading, especially in the example I gave, right? When people give you bits and pieces of the information, right? All in
Mhm.
the name of being open, right? I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to be specific, but I'll just say, hey, I'm into security. Well, there's
No,
so
because
much in that. Mhm.
that is it. It's to an extent. At a
Okay.
certain point, you realize this person is just being selective. How do you call it? They have a word for it. The person is being selective with the information. That
Yeah,
is, to me,
given.
equivalent to also lying. At a
Okay.
point, right?
Mm.
At a point, you are
Mm.
being
Interesting. So,
you're being
so
selective about what to share and what not
I'm
to
going to
share.
ask a very millennial and Gen Z question here. You're talking about being open and not being misleading. Where does the branding comes in? When a personal brand, where how someone wants to brand themselves come in? How does that play out? Is that being misleading? Is that being lying?
Ah,
Because we keep getting told that, especially on social media, you have to brand yourself. You have to, you know, approach things the way you want it to be addressed, right? You know how the whole dress like you want to be addressed thing. At what point
mm.
does my branding become either misleading or
When you're doing too much to actually cover up the actual thing. Like, if there's a thing, there's a point where you feel like, okay, this is just you being making the thing more presentable.
Mhm,
And then there's this act where
mhm,
um you want to cover it up.
mm.
You see, so one is making it more presentable,
And one is
and the one
covering up
is
something?
covering it up.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So for you, the difference between branding yourself and being I don't know, lying would be if you're papering up the cracks, right? Or if you're propping up your thing well. So if you're papering up cracks, if you're putting wallpaper on the side of a wall that has basically no wall, then you're misleading the person, right? But
Yeah.
if say
Mm.
you have certain attributes and you brand them well and you point a lot of attention to that, right?
Yep.
That would be them branding. That's interesting because I think we'll get back to that conversation at the tail end, right? How we
Yeah.
structure ourselves and present ourselves to the world, right? Being transparent about our lives, especially online and in technology.
Mhm.
But now let's talk about the in-person thing, getting to know someone, building someone with something with someone. And I have a few things I want to ask you guys your take on, because AY was talking about time. That at a point people have to clear certain, basically get a security clearance before you start opening up to them on certain things. But my first thing is, at what point do you people suggest that we should be open about personal history, your life, the things you've been through?
Cause see, you can
Wait, see
go.
first.
Oh,
Should it be
I
should it
think
be first date? Should we be talking about how you never went and fetch water
oh
on your
hell
first
no,
date?
hell no, no,
So
hell no.
personal
Like
history,
no,
the
no.
things we talk about with individuals, especially when we're trying to build something with them. Are these some of the things we should keep private and be transparent about later on?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you meet people, you get to know them, right?
Mm-hmm.
We talk and you ask questions and you
Mm-hmm.
hang out
Mm-hmm.
and get to know them. But I think as time goes on,
Mm-hmm.
I think transparency is day one. Like
Mm.
your letting your intentions be known. Like
Mm-hmm.
oh, actually, I think I like you. I mean, because we're human. You might think you like somebody, and later you find out something. You realize, oh no, like
I
this,
don't.
this doesn't work for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So letting them know that okay, this is my intentions, right? Or these are my intentions. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I like you. I want to get to know you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So one, you've been transparent, letting your intentions be known. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like you, or I
Mm-hmm.
think I like you, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in getting to know who you are. Because
Mm-hmm.
we can't date until I know something that
Mm.
aligns,
Mm-hmm.
right? I see a
Mm-hmm.
value there. So I think that's where the transparency comes in.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to privacy, yeah, I mean, we have to really be in like a committed relationship, like getting seeing the light at the end of the tunnel together,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So then now I can open up and say, oh, this is, you know, this is a range of what I make, and this is the dreams, and this is where I want to go,
Huh.
and maybe we can put things together and get to know. But I mean, I just met you within a month. I'm not gonna tell you I make this and yeah, I mean, working here, right? Um,
Uh-huh.
telling you I work for ABC News doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean I'm telling you I'm the guy that does the investigative news aspect or whatever, right? I can
Mm.
tell you, like, I work for company ABC.
Mm-hmm.
Just know that I'm a real human being, like,
Mm.
and for your safety too. Maybe you can do your own digging, see if I'm a serial killer or I'm whatever.
Huh.
Like, I think I think we'll save each other a lot of headache if we're
Uh.
transparent from day one
Mm-hmm.
about, like, shallow on the surface level, be
Mm.
transparent. But there are people that they just meet you and they start lying from day one. Like
Mm.
there is no reason for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
No,
that
but
that is
mhm. You've touched on something I really want us to explore a little more. The whole the conversation, getting to know someone, meeting someone day one, and them telling you things about themselves, right? Being transparent. There's another component to it, which AY supposes is not a good way. But can we also do our own research on someone? And is it a weird or
What are
this
wrong
you
thing?
this
researching
hold
this
on,
for?
hold on.
What you
Kojo,
Chrissy said
Kojo.
for your own safety, you have to
Mhm.
go read, Google, right? Go find out
Yeah, I
about the
mean,
person.
there's a fine line, right? There's a
Mm-hmm.
thin line
Mm-hmm.
between being weird, stalking people, and looking out for your safety,
Okay, okay.
right?
Walk
If
us
you
through
meet,
that line.
I mean, if my cousin introduces somebody to me that they know,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not about to go like Google and do all that, call everybody, whatever. I mean, most guys don't do that. So
Mm.
if I'm not a woman, so I wouldn't know. But let me just say, on the surface level, or me
Mm-hmm.
being ignorant, the little I know about what women like, I have sister, right? I have a sister, right? What they would do, right? There's a difference between that, and then there's a
Mm-hmm.
difference between meeting a stranger at a grocery store and you guys strike a conversation, like you guys get along. So now
Mm-hmm.
you want to be like, okay, let me make sure he doesn't have that black van in the parking lot that he's been snatching people, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think with that, that's fair game, and we all know the world we live in, right? A lot of our sisters are in disadvantage sometimes with stuff like that. So if you
Mm.
want to do it, but at some point it ends somewhere,
Let's
right? Where you
see.
start.
AY, what do you think? Should we lean into the internet to do some of our research? Should we do our own research?
That that is weird to some extent. What do you want to see? What do you want to know? Ask the
Hey.
person,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then when
Mm-hmm.
you have a feeling, the security bit comes in when you have you think you have a thing with the person, like you don't meet somebody and like, okay, who is this person? Unless you have a specific interest that you
Interest.
are looking for, and you think
Hmm.
that is too early for the person to give that information,
Mhm.
then probably you want to be a weirdo and go online and check. You
Why
might
do you
find,
people keep saying weirdo? But
because that, I mean, that
Because
is
we
being
Kojo,
live in a
eh,
world
weird.
no,
where
no,
we
no,
live
no.
in a world where information is available on the internet. I meet someone and I'm getting to know the person. You people think it's weird to go on their social media and find out what kind of information they're putting out, go on their
What do you want
Oh
to?
Instagram.
no,
Okay,
no,
let's
no,
start with
no! I
what do you
didn't
want?
say
What do
that.
you
No,
want
I'm
to
just
know?
saying that no, it's not about so you're getting to know someone, they're being open and transparent, right? But then there's also a whole litany of information they've put out on the internet. And so you're doing your research. Hey, not opposition. You know. I was going to say opposition research, but this is not opposition research. But researching their interests, their likes, the things they're putting out there, the who they
Mm.
are on the
Okay,
social
if
media
you put it
platform.
that
Is
way,
that
it's
something we should do? Should we
if
add
you
that
put
to the
it that
information we're
way,
getting?
Kojo, it's not a bad thing to do. If you put it that way, because
Mm.
again, people would present themselves how they deem fit, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you want to see the raw side of people, where they do things where they think nobody's watching, here
Mm-hmm.
is like it's like me tweeting and nobody really cares what I tweet.
Mm.
So
Twitter is not a real place.
it's not a real place. So I just do what I want to tweet. So if you
Mm-hmm.
think you want to see the person not in that spectacle that, oh, this person is watching me,
Mm-hmm.
then you go
Mm-hmm.
on their tweets to check, or you go on their Facebook page to see
Mm.
what they post and what they
Mm.
believe in, and
Mm.
just get perspective of how the person thinks.
Mm.
Sometimes you would see something, but most often you might
Mm-hmm.
end up misreading certain things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because then a whole lot will happen and somebody will tweet it in like just like a line, and then you
Okay.
want to have an idea of a whole person from that line. You could
Hmm.
have like, it could give you a lead, but sometimes it could be misleading, and then
Needed.
it's going to change how you relate to the person.
Hmm.
You might not see it to be very important, but then the moment you have an idea about somebody, it shows in how you respond to the person, how.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So in our discussion, right, last week and the week before, I don't think you guys added that layer of complexity. That now we live in a world where getting to know people and being deliberately oblivious to their social media footprint is not a realistic thing. Right. Back in the days before the internet, the only way you got to know someone is with getting to meet them, talking
In
to them,
person,
interacting with
yeah.
them, a personal interaction. But these days, we do have that extra bin that everybody carries around called social media, where we keep putting images of ourselves and what we want people to think about us in that box. And these days, getting to know someone is not only about what they are saying. Sometimes
Hmm.
there's a lot of information and what they're doing online that informs you, that gives you either cause to get to know the person more or cause to step back. It
Mhm.
muddies the waters somehow. Like I go on a date and I ask them, "What do you do? What are your interests? What do you do for fun?" And they're like, "Oh, you say I'm a banker. I have no time for extracurricular activities. I'm always with 80-hour weeks." And then you're like, okay, you go, you follow them on Instagram, and it's like today in Miami, next week here. It's like you're getting two different information. They're in the club, they're balling, and it's like, this is the person who said I do nothing fun. I'm a house, but yeah, I just work all day. And then you're having this conflicting information online, right? And we are having to navigate a space where we have to find a blend between what someone is
See,
telling you and
Kojo, this is so. Let me clarify. When I
mm-hmm,
said you can look, I mean, if you go on, we are human curiosity, right? Social
mm-hmm,
media is, if you go on IG and it's all pictures and whatever, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I
Mhm.
think that's not being weird if they give you
mm-hmm,
their
mm-hmm,
IG,
mm-hmm.
right? It's weird when they didn't give it to you and
Yeah, you go find it.
like you type in and then 10 people come and then you look at each one to see, is that him? Is that her? Is that him? Is that is a little weird, right?
Okay,
But I think
okay.
the best way in getting to know, like you just said, the best way in getting to know somebody is talking to them, right?
Hmm.
And because then you have proof. If they lie to you,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Later you can say, no, get somebody else to do it. Not me. I'm out of here. right? Because it said A and now it's B.
Mm,
But I feel like if you go do all that digging, the extra calling your homeboys or homegirls so everybody can search all the platforms and the FBI work, which is a little weird, right? You can't really use it against them because they didn't tell
mhm,
you that.
mhm,
Everybody be stunned
mhm,
on social medias. So
mm,
I
mm,
mean, you can't really. I don't think you use it against them, but
mm,
pay. They say, watch what they do,
mm,
right? When you're talking, when you're around them, watch them.
mhm,
Don't just be, oh, I'm so in love. Like, so they say something and it goes through here, come out the other way, and
mhm,
like pay attention. I
good.
always say that's my
Mm,
favorite thing. Like,
mm,
stay focused, pay
mm,
attention,
mm. And
because a lot of the time
Mm-hmm.
the signs are usually there,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
We lie to ourselves. We're a little
mm.
delusional. We in love. We like their bodies. We like their paychecks, right? So we keep making
Mhm,
excuses,
mhm,
That's
right?
true.
mhm.
Right. A lot of the times the signs are there
Interesting.
as you keep going.
So,
So
so in your view,
mhm.
doing your research is not necessarily the bad thing, but not paying attention to the things right in front of
Well, if
you.
it's gonna be asterisks on the word research, right?
Yeah,
Because I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
there's two types, right? There's a weirdo one, and then there's normal. Just they give
Mm,
you their IG or
mm,
Twitter, and you just scroll through because you're interested in them,
Mm-hmm.
mm,
right? You
mm,
don't just pick random people and just go through their IGs. Like you're interested in them, right? So you're like
mhm,
they got your attention, so they give you their IG, or you guys add each other, and you're looking like,
So
yeah.
the
I
weird
mean,
side
it's
would be
not,
when you don't ask the person for their
yeah, and then
you're
you're
IG,
and
and
you're
around
then you
digging
are
stuff up.
looking
going digging. Like
like,
you could just ask, "Oh, what's your handle?" And then the person knows that, oh, the person is going to look at it
Mhm,
anyway,
mhm.
so it's not a big deal. But when
Interesting.
you don't, and then yeah, busy doing FBI work looking
Mhm,
for the
mhm.
person's handle,
yeah,
and
go
then
to
going.
Quantico if you want to be FBI agent. Go to Quantico. Like, it's just
That's an interesting thing, and I'm going to get through some of the comments, but it's an interesting dynamic. A very
We can hear you.
uh-oh.
Yeah, now we
There's a very
can.
fine line. Wait,
Can you hear us though?
I can now hear you guys.
Okay, we can hear you too.
we can hear you.
My bad. So there's a very fine line between doing your research and becoming a creep, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
a very fine line between casually scrolling through someone's thing and stalking and getting your, like as he said, getting your gang together and be like, let's go and do a sentiment analysis on all the tweets, 580 tweets. Let's load them up, and that's just getting creepy, right? But
Yeah.
that's also some information we can be able to use to help us get to know people. Sometimes, especially when you go on there and you see things you share in common, you see a workout or his workout videos, and you're like, hey, I also work out. It gives you even something to talk about. Oh, I saw this on your Instagram. We can talk more about it. So instead of it being a weird, creepy thing that puts a strain on the relationship, it can be one of those things where you can see it and get to know some things that can speed up the getting to know someone process, right? It helps bring the dialogue, keep the conversation going. We're going to look at other things, other rules, and other ways where people would either have to be private about and transparent about. But before then, let me dig into some of the comments. Quizzy first, how are you sitting on the show and sending comments?
Oh no, I did it before. I did it before everybody even joined. Okay, before I just
Quizzy said, "Welcome to the Casa podcast. We have Wache and what's that?
cookies.
Oh,
Cookies.
Rashid, battery at 27%, and the power is still out, but we're here. Rashid, we appreciate you being here. And Answer Friend said, today I came. So welcome, Answer. It's really nice having you here. We really appreciate you listening. And let us know what you also think. What are some of the things we're supposed to keep private, and how are the information out there on the internet we get to find about people, how does it inform our thoughts, and how does it help us open up or close up to people? Like, tell us what you think about this whole privacy and transparency issue. Rashid is saying, scratch that, we're back online and we have power. Rashid, I'm super happy that your power is back. Nanama Amakwa is here, 100, and Hill is back. Hill, it's always fun to see you in the comment section. Let us know what you think about privacy and transparency. Rashid is saying it's best to ask people to tell you who they are, not research about them. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you can find out everything on the internet, then go ask the internet about the things you're finding out. Don't come ask me, hey, I saw you post this in February 2012. What did you exactly mean by we are the people? What people are you talking about? Right? Yeah, absolutely. It's good to talk to people about these things. Hell is saying if you think you should research about someone, then I think you know something is wrong somewhere. When
Mhm.
people are unreal, I think you would sense it. But Googling is LOL. That's true. That's true. When you
Creepy.
have to snoop, then maybe
Creepy.
you have a bad sense about something. Your spider senses are
Yeah, the
going
person is
off.
creepy.
Yeah. But until then, I think it's always real. It's always good to get to know the real person because, like Bongo keeps saying, social media is not a real
It's
place.
not a
So,
real place.
Quasi Frost. I thought it was the bottle of wine.
No,
That's water.
I stay hydrated so I don't get thirsty.
Rashid said, Kwejo, people can always who they say
Or
tell you
believe
who
they
they say
are.
or believe they are. Okay. But will always show you who they truly are. That's a very good one. Time will
Time.
tell. It
Time. Yep.
always does. That's amazing. That's an amazing one. Yeah. People can tell you things about who they are or who they think they are. And sometimes they're not even wrong. Some people think they're something they're not. And so paying attention to what they actually show you, paying attention to what they do is really key. And you can't skirt past that or you can't fast forward that. Only time would really tell who people truly are. That's amazing, Rashid. Thanks for that one. The Lali sent the eye emoji. That means the Lali is watching us. The Lali is watching us. All right,
Yeah.
guys, let's get back into this transparency and all those fun stuff, privacy thing. So now we have a duty, right? And like AY was saying, being transparent, being open and honest when we're building something with someone. And then in a way, we also expected to keep some things private, right?
Yep.
And with time, as we get to know more about the person, as people get endeared to us and they clear some levels of clearance, right? You can open up about someone, but about something. But in terms of opening up about things, at what point does it cross over to using the person as your therapist? All in the name of opening up. Sometimes there are very heavy weights that we drop on people's laps. At what point? Where should that line be? Where should the person stay your romantic interest and not your shrink?
That
Um.
is hard. That is not hard, but that is hard. Because even though you don't want to burden someone with,
Mhm,
most often, if it's something that is past,
mhm,
something that happened to you years ago,
mhm,
a childhood trauma, you just give an idea,
mhm,
not really talk about it and keep talking about it. If you need someone to talk about it, then you see a therapist, right?
mhm,
And also, I think, there's really a thin line where people will be like, just get you a therapist, and people are just not um considerate enough.
hmm, hmm,
Sometimes you want someone that you can talk to about, certain things, not as a therapist, but just someone that you feel you can be vulnerable
hmm,
to.
hmm,
I don't know if I'm being clear, but it's like a very thin line where you have to decide, okay, this is a point where I'm giving too much information that is
mhm,
going to burden the other person. This
mhm,
person cannot relate to me. The person is just going to worry. Then I don't need to share this information. The person cannot even help.
hmm,
And some other times that you don't need the person's help, but something is just really bothering you. You just want to be vulnerable about something that has happened recently.
hmm.
I don't know. It's very difficult. I think people hide behind, oh, I'm not your therapist kind of thing, to just be mean to their partners. That's what I think. Yeah.
Interesting. Now
Yeah.
you went on and on and on, and you brought us back to that question. Where is that line? What?
I don't know how to put the line, right? Because to
Mhm,
you have to know, and I'm not
Mm.
the one. It's the person doing the telling that is supposed to
No.
know when.
Mm.
I'm
Mm.
the one listening. I can't tell you, you know,
Mhm.
I don't know how to let you know. Okay, this I
This
Give
is
me
know,
too
this.
but
Give
far.
then
me.
it's like
TMI.
I need a sip for this.
I don't, at the point that a person is
Mhm,
telling me, the
mhm,
person finds it like, oh, I'm the right person to listen to, or maybe I'm the person that will listen to him or
hmm,
her, right?
hmm.
So that moment, I can't tell you you're giving too much information. It's the person that is doing the telling that is supposed to
That's
tell
supposed
us
to
that
know.
this part I don't have to say because I need someone to really help me out with this. It's a
Hmm.
trauma issue. It's not just something I'm going like something basic.
Mr. Frost, where's the line? Mr. Frost,
Um,
where do we
there's
draw the
um,
line? How do we know?
there's a thin line between being vulnerable and being annoying and weird and dumping your your issues on people or looking
Mhm,
for pity, people to pity you, right? Being vulnerable, right, to
Mm-hmm,
me is
mhm,
opening up, right? Telling your partner,
mm-hmm,
this makes me happy, this makes me sad. Don't
mm-hmm,
don't talk to me this way
mm,
because it's
mm,
mhm,
disrespectful.
mm,
This is
mm,
how I want you to treat me.
mm,
Don't go spend all our savings. Don't do
mm,
this, don't do that. This is how I feel, right? And then there's a point where you cross the line. And then it's all, oh, I was bullied in middle school and now I have you need like a real professional therapist,
mm,
right? You can
mm.
tell me about it, that's fine. But every time I knew somebody that anytime she drinks, it turns into,
therapy
oh, and
session.
I was bullied in this and this kid in high school. You're 32, man. It's middle school. Like, let's get you the help you need. If emotionally you need help, open up. Let's get you professional help. You can talk to your partner about it, right?
Mm-hmm,
And then there's a part where you keep every other day, you keep whining,
mm,
like it's
mm,
sit down, crying, do it. No, let's go get help.
hmm,
Let's fix each other.
hmm.
Let's fix each other. So
Hmm.
I think that's the part where you're crossing the line. When you use it as a weapon, you've
Huh.
crossed the line.
Uh, uh.
If you use it as a weapon, you've crossed the
Interesting.
line.
So if I'm getting you right, transparency, one of the key attributes of transparency is being vulnerable, being able
Mhm.
to share some of your.
Being vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean, transparency leads to exposure and
Yeah,
vulnerability,
and
right?
vulnerability.
If I'm
Yeah.
going to open up to you about my personal beliefs, the things I stand for, the things I hope to be, and who I am, it's shaped by certain things I've been through. And so being transparent is it leads to a degree of vulnerability. But if you use that vulnerability as a clutch to explain away your actions and inactions, then you're not being transparent, then you're just being manipulative and you're using that person almost as a shrink, right? And so yes, you
Yeah.
open up to someone, you tell them some of the things that would, this and this and this are the reasons I am so and so. But then an issue comes and you're like, remember I told you I have an attitude problem? You remember I told you I have an issue with anger? Well, at this point you're not being vulnerable. That's not transparency. You're just being, I
Yeah.
don't want to swear, but there's some form of
And,
jackassery going on there.
and then anytime something happens, you blame it on your middle school bullying or
Mhm,
like people always,
Victimization.
yeah, people victimization, people always finding excuses and using real things that happen to them that they probably should get help and fix it, they
mhm,
won't get the
mhm,
help, right?
mhm,
To me, what is annoying is you not trying to get the help to overcome, right, get over the hump, but you just sit and want to use it against people, right? It's
But
just
yeah, you guys, I get where you're coming from, right? Now we have a clear part where if the person is using as a weapon, using as an
mhm,
excuse, trying to use that to always feel like, oh, I'm the victim here, then you know the person is just, it's crossed the line.
mm,
But most often, you guys, there are some people that are just mean, that someone will go through something. It's not in the past, like maybe
Mhm.
their day was terrible or something, and they just need someone to talk to. Be like, oh, I'm not your therapist. No, like, okay, I
Oh
get
no,
that
that's
it's not a
childish.
therapist,
That's just being
a
childish.
therapy thing, but
Mhm.
this is somebody that you feel, if someone is going out to tell you something like this,
Mhm.
it's like they see you to be you know they see you to be someone they can talk to about that incident. So
Mm.
then if you start with, oh, you need a therapy, or you
Mhm.
just to escape, or
The conversation, just to skip the
to avoid
conversation.
the
Oh, avoid.
conversation, or
Mhm.
just
Yeah,
to be
if
there
yeah,
as
that
human, then I mean that is also,
if
Hmm.
if yeah,
Hmm.
that's being that one. I don't think that's what I was referring to. That's just being childish.
Hmm.
Your partner having a bad day at work don't need therapy,
Hmm.
right? It's one day that some a-hole at work yelled or
yeah.
was being difficult and they're stressed, right? We all go through it. We can.
Mhm.
That's where we a team, right? We live together and
Mhm.
we on the same team.
Hmm.
We can talk about it. What I'm seeing is using like real stuff, like maybe being bullied in middle school or high school, or
Mhm.
almost getting ran over by a car, so or getting an accident, and now you don't want to drive. That's different. Like that's something that's real shit. Like we can get you help. We can, you tell me about it. Because how else am I gonna know that you need help, or we need to go see somebody if you don't tell me about it,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Yeah,
But
but when people start saying things like, "Oh, there's a thin line between this," it sort of raised the idea that, oh, the person just is trying to avoid. Sometimes it's just a talk. Sometimes somebody just needs to talk to somebody, and then that's it.
Hmm.
And most often, it's not like an everyday thing. It's just, if it's just once in a while thing, don't make the person
yeah,
feel
yeah,
bad coming to talk to you
yeah,
Hmm.
as
yeah.
a person. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
don't let the person feel bad coming to talk to you. But then if you make it look like, oh, you need a therapist, if you
Yeah,
have a
I
problem,
agree. Yeah.
seek
I agree with you. Yeah.
look for a therapist. And I'm like, it's not
I
everything that needs therapy. Sometimes that is why we have friends.
Mhm.
We have
Mhm.
family, we have
Mhm.
people that you
mm-hmm.
can call and then talk to about
Talk to
certain things.
about things.
Yeah.
It's because we see them like the people we can. It's not always therapy
So,
or
so
getting
in
help or something.
so in terms of building a relationship with someone or building something with
Hmm.
someone, opening, keeping those lines of communication, and even keeping the couch open just in case someone just needs to talk. Sometimes, yeah, you're not a
Yeah.
therapist, but sometimes just talking about it helps people, right?
Yeah.
Process things, understand things better. And so creating that avenue where it's safe for someone to step up to you and talk to you, or your partner to talk to you and open up to you about things, is key. But also, as those of us doing the talking, we should also know where the lines are, know when not to go dump your vulnerability and everything on
Yes.
someone.
Yes,
And
sir.
I think we've looked at that transparency bit, but there's also another side to it, the privacy bit, and the lack of trust that can stem from being too private about things, right?
Yep.
Rashid put a comment in there, and I think it's going to speak to where I want us to take a conversation next, right? Rashid said Breen Brown, in a 2010 TED Talk, delved into vulnerability as an opportune moment for true connections. But its essence is lost when it's weaponized by any or all the parties involved, right? Being open and transparent and being vulnerable sometimes lead to forming true connections. Keeping things private, not being vulnerable at all, not opening up at all, also leads to isolation and, you know, lack of trust, right? You in your quest not to open up to your partner, not to open up and talk about these things, need so that you don't weaponize it or it being taken advantage of. Sometimes you can block off people and you can't create what Rashid is talking about as a true connection with someone. So you spend a lot of time talking to the person, but you guys have drawn these very fine lines that nobody is really opening up. So there's no connection being formed. Where do we draw the line to when it comes to privacy? Where do we know when to open up to someone and help create a true connection?
Hmm.
Um. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm still thinking, so you can go.
I think in relationship,
Hmm.
a little bit of the privacy you goes out the window when you get married, like you become one,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
When because I mean, me when I was dating, even when I was dating my wife, there's certain things that I didn't tell her,
Mm-hmm.
right? But when we got married, and at least not when we got to the part where we both were on the
Decide.
same page,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and we're like, we want to buy a house, we want to
Mm-hmm.
do a wedding, we want to
Mm-hmm.
do this. How
Mm-hmm.
many kids you're gonna want? Like when we got to that point where we're on the same page,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I started opening up and saying like things like
Mm-hmm.
saying
Mm-hmm.
things like from finances to what you call it? Yeah, it was mostly like me. It was mostly
Financial stuff.
finances,
But
financial stuff.
but I
Like
was wondering where
and
we so I mean marriage is distinct, but in terms of building and working through some, where
mhm.
do we intentionally set these landmarks? Okay, when we get to this point, when we our relationship gets to that point,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
open
yeah,
the door. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. When you get to the point where you guys are on the same page
Mm,
and all the BS is out the window,
mm,
right? And now you're
mm,
being real that this is what I envision, right?
mm, mm,
This is where you don't okay. This you don't have to necessarily get married, like go get a wedding or whatever, right? Because
mhm,
I've met people that they live like 50 years, they never got married legally. They have family, grandkids,
mhm.
whatever. That's rare. That's them, right? Majority of people
Okay.
don't do that. But when you're on the same page, where you finally, and you will know it when you get there. That
Mm,
is just something that I don't know how, because it varies, right? It's
mhm,
for me, maybe the same page is when we started having a conversation about being one team and
mhm,
like putting our money together and
mm,
doing things together and all that, right?
mhm,
So then I know that okay, we've had this conversation
mhm,
and this is where we are going. This is our destination, or this is where we start our journey, right? Because marriage is not a destination. That's how you start life. Like
mhm, mhm.
you start right together. You
Okay.
start new life
Okay.
together.
Mhm,
So when you get to the point where your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever you're into, right? You
mhm,
guys get on the same page. I
mhm,
think that's where you start opening up more, right?
mm,
You lose some of the privacy, right? On that part. Because for instance, when I started dating, like when I'll go to the bathroom and I'll knock, right? Or she would knock when I'm in the bathroom, right?
mhm.
It's kind of even though we're dating, but then it was a respect thing. I don't know if I say
Yeah,
respect,
I
then
get
you
it.
probably say now no respect. Yeah, it was like respect each other's privacy thing,
Mhm.
right? So we'll knock, but it got to a point. The knocking stopped, right?
Mm.
And I even make a joke. You know me, I'll make a joke out of anything. I made a joke. I'm like, oh wait, this is where we at now. The wedding, like
You just walk in.
you just walking on me, like so. Where you get to that point, I think it's varies for
Yeah.
Mm,
everybody, and everybody will know when they get to that point. That
mm,
that I
mm.
firmly believe
Believe.
that
Okay.
everybody
Okay.
individually, you will know when you get to that point.
Hmm. AY.
But what I think when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to this
Mm-hmm.
thing is that when you're dating, right? Like many people are trying to
Mm-hmm.
decide
What the next move would be.
what the next when you
Mm-hmm.
guys are on the same page, as Chrissy said.
Mm-hmm.
I think you both know when you're on the same page. Sometimes, and that's
100,
You
100.
that
guys keep saying the same. Okay.
I'm
Uh-huh.
coming.
Uh-huh.
That comes in
Mm-hmm.
when I think the basics here is transparency. When you guys are
Mm,
transparent enough, you both know you're on the same page.
mm,
But we know when one person is trying to be sneaky, one person is trying to be cunning. That everybody is trying to be very okay. I'm doing my thing, do your thing. Then okay, we are not on the same page yet. Let's
mm-hmm.
just keep
Mm-hmm.
doing our thing till we finally decide. So when the
Mm-hmm.
transparency is there, like the basis is set,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys are clear from the onset, when you guys are on the same page, you see it because you're transparent. That is when you decide, okay, which information we should share.
Mm,
The relating to what you guys want to do next. So
mm,
maybe you guys want to do a project, you guys want to even in friendship, right? When you guys have trying to do projects together or trying to do something together, right? There's some level of privacy that is shared, that is out the window. You feel like, okay, for this particular project, right, we
mm-hmm.
need to put this, get this account, do this, you
Mhm.
share certain things for that
Mm.
particular project, you do. So for me, before you can start being taking privacy out of the way,
Mhm.
transparency should be firm.
Yep, yep,
It
yep.
should
I
be, you
that's
both
solid.
of you should be very transparent.
I,
That way nobody is not so, I'm not so sure where we are. You are
Mhm.
very sure when you're transparent. When things
Mm.
are open, you know where the person is and you know where you are, and so you
I
can tell if
agree.
you're on the same page. If you're not transparent, there's no need trying to,
I,
like, try to, let's take this out. That becomes more rigid for me.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
Mm.
it
agree.
will
I agree with
flow
that.
when you people
Mm.
are just transparent and you know, okay, you're on the same page now. You can both see you're on the same page. There's no need. Now you can talk about, okay, that's what we want to do next.
Mm.
So
Mm.
at that moment, the kind of information that needs to be on the table, you will put it
Mhm.
on the table. And
Mm.
then you move from there gradually. I mean, it will get to a point where, as Chrissy said, there's
Mhm.
no privacy anymore.
Mm.
But that would be like later on, yeah. But in
Mm.
the beginning, certain
Okay.
information are private. Yeah, that's what I
So,
think.
Only
Hill sent this in. Oh, Quizzy, you wanted to say something?
Oh no, I said the only privacy is when I'm on the phone. I get my privacy to talk.
Only privacy you get is when you are on the phone.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
talking on the phone. Don't disturb me.
Hill
I don't even
Hill
have to
said
say it. So yeah, go ahead.
Hill sent this in. Hill saying, in my perspective, there isn't always a
Isn't
time.
always the time.
The best time to open up, in my opinion, is when you feel at ease. You can determine someone's intelligence, information processing style, and level of judgment by conversing with them
Yep.
in the first three
3 weeks.
weeks. You
Okay.
can't
So oh, there's a
saturate
timeline.
them with stuff they don't need to know. Now,
They don't need to know now.
now,
Let's
lest they will run.
run with it.
They will run.
Run.
Oh,
Oh,
okay,
Charlie.
okay.
So
So
3 weeks.
yeah, she's saying in the first 3 weeks, you don't just keep bombarding them with
Oh,
information and just throwing stuff
yeah,
at them.
me.
They might run, and I think it's true.
Yeah,
One,
yeah,
there
yeah.
might not be a rigid time level. I completely agree with a rigid time thing, and it's best to open up when you have discovered in your conversation with
Mhm.
a person, well, they can handle this. They would listen, and sometimes it's not even. Sometimes you only open it up because you know they can provide some help, right? Like they can advise you on certain things they've been through. Like as you get to know someone and you're like in grad school and you know, oh, they were in grad school, and you're opening up about your struggles. Sometimes it's apt because you've built that connection. As you're talking to the
Yeah.
person, as you're getting to know the person, you know what to bring up, right? What they are better suited to help with, and what they may not be able to help you with. And I think one of the things, especially in Rashid's first comment, I was looking at is sometimes maybe being transparent would open some of the doors for that connection to be built, for you guys to get on the same page. Sometimes
Mhm.
one person has to be vulnerable about something, and in the struggle through that situation, in analyzing and thinking through that, you guys can draw an even closer bond together and you get closer to being on the same page. But Hale is saying we should definitely look at the person, right, and determine the
Mhm.
person's, their intelligence level, the way they process information, the level of judgment. Because hey, sometimes if you say certain things with people with very loose judgments or erroneous judgments on situations, you might find yourself in a pickle. But definitely, there are things to look out for when you want to throw privacy out the window. Richard is saying, linking this to my comment, people will tell you what is private to them when they are vulnerable with you. You and who are you as a person? Hey, who you are as a person determines if you keep it private or and not
Weaponize it.
weaponize it.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I think that becomes your call. That is a test of who you are, your character, right?
Yep.
If people can talk to you and you can be able to keep these things private and not weaponize it, no matter what happens with your relationship with a person, there are people who take a lot of the things you've told them to the grave, no matter how things stand out. So be people talking to you and being vulnerable to you brings some level of responsibility. You have to bring some level of responsibility to this chore, right? You don't
Mhm.
just listen to people and just listen for listening's sake, but you owe them some responsibility of keeping these things private. Imari is saying, but when you're honest from the start, privacy is respected and transparency is just a byproduct of that. Being transparent will just come authentically. Interesting. Interesting. That leads me to my last question. Should privacy and transparency be deliberate actions we take? Should we make a genuine effort to open up to people, or we should it's something that would just come naturally? Like, is it something that we just be yourself? People are like, oh, I'm that's just myself. I call it as it is. I say it as it
No.
is. At least
Some
consensus.
people, I think some people need to limit what they say, while others need to make conscious effort to say a lot.
You talk too much.
Yeah, some people talk a lot,
Mhm.
others talk too
Mm,
less.
mm.
And so depending on your personality, if
You have to
you
make a
just
conscious effort.
make conscious effort to do
Mm,
more of what you are not, to
mm,
get to, like, the balance. So some people are very introvert, like they are, even where they are going, I mean, if you are in the same place with them and everything, there's something as basic as, going to church or something. That is not doesn't need to be private, because maybe someone come and look for you or something might happen and I'll need to. It's not anything. I'm not gonna come for you at the church. They're not going to share. And sometimes it's not with any bad intention. They are just not used to sharing certain information with
mhm,
people. And
mhm.
so such people should make conscious effort
To
to
share.
share.
Hmm.
So you make conscious efforts. Okay, I have to let this person know this. This person
Mm.
is very close to me. I have to let the person know this. While others share too much information. So those people
Go and
should
sit down.
just
That's people
sit
should go and sit
down
down.
and give themselves time whenever they're about to talk. They should think, do I need to say this? No, okay, I'm not saying it. Let's just go past it.
Mr. Frost,
Yeah.
what do you think? AY is like some people should shut up and some people should speak out. Like,
I agree with what AY said. I
Mhm.
mean, Charlie, some people they talk too much.
Mm,
You
mm,
know, like rah 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 rah. You meet them and within a week, man. Some people are real crazy though. But it
mhm.
does in a week, and you know where their granny lives, where their grand left, their granddad cheated on their grandmom. This blah 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 blah. Like the family eats like turkey instead of chicken. Like this like you're giving me too much. I can't even
Mm,
process. Right?
mm.
Pace yourself, my G. Pace yourself.
Pace
Okay,
yourself.
life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Like they said, we said a few weeks ago.
Mm,
Pace yourself
mm,
and get to know people. Like relax, calm down,
mhm.
and listen. Stay focused. Listen.
Stay focused.
Stay
Focus is
focused.
gonna get you in trouble, please.
No, because
Stay
a lot of people
focused.
have problems staying focused. Like
Mm,
it's no matter what you think, you
mhm,
like you just meet somebody, right? You don't
mhm,
really know them like that, right? You're getting to know them. So all that rah rah rah, slow it down and pace yourself. It makes you more interesting. Like they want to find
mm,
out things about
mm,
you. They want
mm,
to ask questions. They want to don't be all supersonic with the desperation and
mm.
oh like hey Ray, I do this, I do this, I do this. Like no, don't just
TMI.
it's annoying. Yeah,
TMI.
yeah, too much. There's certain things that when you
Mhm,
say 3 months after meeting them, when
mhm,
you're in a relationship, it sounds nice and sweet, right? That
mhm.
if you had said it day one, it makes
Yeah,
you look weird
absolutely. Yep.
because they don't know you. When people
Mhm,
get to know you,
mhm,
like you said, when you transparent, they get to know you, right? Certain
mhm,
things come out and they can relate.
mhm,
Some issues you have, they might even help you fix it
mhm,
or whatever, right? But
mhm.
imagine meeting somebody. They're like, oh yeah, I have $10,000 in credit card debt, and I'm trying to pay it off and all that. Like me, I'm not. There's the chance of me calling you back.
Drop significantly.
Like you have a higher chance of me buying you a pink dinosaur than me probably calling you back, right? Like I don't right there, you letting me know like whoa, like hold on. I don't even want to know, man. And listen, this could be like a legit thing, or maybe you use your card to pay your granny's
Mm-hmm.
dialysis, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So me, when I get to know you, and you probably explain it. Oh yeah, I have this because I helped my grandma. Hey, I can sympathize with you. I can. It makes more
Mm-hmm.
sense than you just throwing that hot steam at me when
On the
I'm
first
I'm
night.
I'm busy eating my burrito or tacos or jollof, and then between my third bite, oh by the way, oh I mean so much. I'm like, hold on, get somebody else to do it.
that is that is so funny, Chrissy. Uh,
Nah.
some of the comments are coming in. I'm going to run through some of them, but Chrissy is asking a few questions, and I want you guys to think about it because we're going to come back and address these questions.
Okay.
Chrissy Yakun saying, I have a quick question. Is there a metric to judge
Metric.
the validity of the depths of information to share? Is there a way you judge what things to share and what not to share? I know Kwesi addressed a bit of it and the time factor, and he's saying, should the background of the other influence how much you share? The past experiences can be a reason for holding back. And so, should the background of the person influence how much you share with them? Um, Something was cracking people up. I think it was a fierce comment, and Nanama was cracking up.
Not me.
Hilda
Chrissy's
Hill was
comment.
also cracking up. Oh, okay. And Rashid said, not everyone deserves and appreciates your honesty and transparency. These things are connected to your energy. So be selective who you direct your energy towards and absorb energy from. So
Eh,
basically be mindful of who you're opening up to and who you're letting open up to you. And sometimes
True.
we bring this on ourselves. Sometimes we allow the wrong people to open up to us and then we get scared and we don't understand. Like there's
yeah.
some very calloused people out there, and then when you let them open up to you, they dump a pile of stuff on you that it
Oh
can even
yeah.
be mentally tasking on you. And so definitely not everybody appreciates the energy and the work required. And so be very selective with who you are transparent to and who you are allowed to be transparent to you. um Hill is saying she agrees with one Rashid 100. Imari is saying there's a difference between the two. Privacy doesn't equivocate to secrecy, just as um, transparency isn't equivocal to being flagrant. But people should learn the discernment. And so basically, being private doesn't mean you should be secretive. And it's funny, but there's a very fine line between
Oh yeah, yeah,
privacy
yeah.
and
Yep.
secrecy.
Yep.
And being transparent doesn't mean you should just go about just pouring and downloading onto people, loading up onto people things they're not supposed to be bothered with. Discernment and discretion is very key in all these things. Like there is some form of personal responsibility here in the whole discussion, privacy and that's why I asked the question: it does it come just organically? Is this something we just stumble into? There's a deliberate effort we have to put in as members of
But
both sides,
but
right?
but Kojo,
The listener and the yes, sir.
with all this, one thing that we haven't talked about is
Mm-hmm.
maturity, right?
Mm, mm, mm,
Because I think when two people are mature,
mm-hmm,
right, enough,
mm-hmm,
you should, in a perfect world, if you're mature enough, you have some sense to know that okay, I'm getting to know somebody. Let me not throw all my baggages and luggages and carry-ons and checking bags on them, right?
mm-hmm,
Right.
yep,
So
yep.
I think that we should look at that angle too. That
Mm.
are people even matured enough
To handle
to
this.
know what to share and what not to
Mm,
share,
mm,
and the other end to are they
mhm.
matured enough to understand
What we're sharing.
what you're sharing,
Hmm.
right?
Mm. And I think it would set up for the very lovely question Quisi asked. Is the background of the person necessary? Should we in analyzing who we're going to open up to, should we be mindful of where they're coming from? Would they
No, what
understand?
he said was should the background of the other person
Mm-hmm. Influence how much you
influence how much
share.
you share. So
Yeah.
people do not share because of past information. I
Mhm.
think that is not fair to whoever you are with, right?
But
No,
but
Because
I
if
don't. Mhm.
because of
but
what has happened, you
I
are
don't know
learning to
if that is the
withhold.
question. Is the
but if
person's
if
background
you're
should it
Yeah.
inform what you share with them?
the person's background, right? You only get to know that when you guys are transparent, right? So when you're transparent and that person is transparent to us, you get to know their background, where they're coming from. So now I think the question is privacy. Knowing them now, are you going to share your bank account info with them?
Hmm.
If they, did you just get to know them, right? And they
Hmm.
blow money like drug dealers, right? Are you gonna do you want to share stuff with them,
Hmm.
or the like? I don't know if you
I don't
understand. You
know,
get what
but
I'm saying?
my understanding of this was probably even
Could you bring the question back again and let's see?
okay. So I think
Should the
he.
background
Mhm.
no. You've
Okay.
changed it. Change it.
I know. I
Oh,
was
okay,
looking
this
at
one.
the setup.
Okay.
Is there a metric to judge the validity of the depth of the information you're supposed to share with someone? How do
Hmm.
you know just how much to share with someone? And he's saying, should the background of the other influence how much you share? So the after getting to know people, like I mentioned, if you get to know, oh, someone was in grad school, I have some struggles, right? As I'm going through it, just knowing that should it inform whether or not I should
You left
share
the
this
last sentence out.
person. That's no, that wasn't a question. That was like he just.
Past experiences can be a reason for holding back, and
Mhm.
that's where I have a problem with. Like
That was a
he's saying,
statement. So if you answer the question, then maybe, or you're just.
I think wouldn't this be example like if
Mhm.
somebody that been dating like a lady
hmm
Mhm.
Jane Doe been dating bunch of trash guys that cheated on
Mhm.
her, right?
Mhm.
hmm
And now they're worried you're gonna cheat on them. Is it something like
I'm not sure. Okay, well, Kwesi, you can clarify if you can, please send us a clarification to the question. But
yeah?
what I am getting was,
hmm
um, as you get to know someone's background, should they inform the level of information? Because he was asking, how do you weigh
oh
the kind of information to give to someone? And for example, if I know someone is born and raised in Chicago, right? There's certain information, especially about my past and some of the things I do, that I don't think the person would understand, right? So maybe I wouldn't lay it on them, right?
yeah,
I would
okay,
use,
okay.
even if I'm communicating, I'll try to set or situate the issues in a context within which they would understand. So sometimes it might be like TMI just because the person is not from that background. And so, should
Why
the
are you
information you give to someone be
why are
dependent
you
on their
why are you
background?
sending your auntie $100? Momo.
Yep. Yep. That could be a very valid question, right? Just based on the person's background. And
Okay,
so,
that makes sense. Yes, sometimes the background of the person you're with
mhm,
should direct the kind of information you share in the
share
beginning.
with them. Mhm,
Again, yeah,
mhm.
in the
But I
beginning.
have a question though.
Again,
How do you know
okay.
their background? How do you know you
I
just met
mean,
them
but
at the
you get
gym?
talking to the person, you understand how the person thinks, what they think
By
about
them
this
being
is
transparent, right?
yeah. I mean, transparency is always like the basis for me. For me, like whenever there's a question, there's a problem, how you
Mhm.
address the issue, which angle you take the issue from, how you like your perspective of issues. That is how I see whether you're very judgmental, you're
Mhm.
agreeable a little, you like arguing, you like debating, you
Mhm.
are very firm. It will give you certain traits and characteristics of the person you are talking to. That is, an idea. So it will make you see how the person thinks. And then based on the kind of information you trade based on conversations, right? You would also know where the person is coming from. And so certain information, you're like, okay, this should hold a little bit, or let me put it in a better, context to let the person
Mm-hmm.
understand it properly. Just like
Hmm.
he said, with the kind of information saying the person has a debt of like $10,000, right? If the person just come and tell you I have 10,000, you're like, okay. But if the person, as you get to know the person, oh, this is a very kind person, this is a very forgiving person, this is a, and then the person tells you, oh, my auntie, needed this money to clear hospital bills, and so I did it. You would come from a point, you see the person coming from a point of sympathy. The person is just being kind, being
Mm.
themselves, right? But and then
Mhm.
More
certain information
logical.
too, yeah, certain people are just not, good givers, or they are not, what we call kind, and they are not
Mm.
used to
Hmm.
sharing certain things. So when you go and share something, don't just come and be like, I went to borrow somebody, it's 300 $5,000. No,
Mhm.
right from the onset, the person is going to be mad. Why are you going to share money with somebody? Because this person is not really good with sharing, and it's not bad. It's just that they don't know how to do it.
Mm.
So knowing the background of the person you're dealing with will help you.
Helps
Yes,
save the conversation.
yeah, it will help
Hmm.
you how to coin it, where to put it, how to say, when to even say it. That's what I
Hmm.
think. Yeah.
Interesting. We're going to wrap up the conversation on transparency and privacy, but we're not ending the whole overarching theme here, right? Because there's still a lot to discuss, especially not in our relationships and building things with people, but in our lives generally. What to keep private and what to be transparent about online as parts of this wonderful internet community on social media, what to keep private. There's so much that we can look at, especially with corporations and the social media apps we use and all the wonderful things that these days AI is making possible. Now you can get AI to recreate a whole profile of Kwesi Frost, the Wachisela. And to have this conversation, I think we should bring a couple of AI people and tech savvy
We
people into the
should.
conversation. And so we're
Bruh,
going to
bruh Sule or whatever.
we're going to end
Yeah.
the conversation today, and next week we're probably going to look at some other type of information and exchange, right? And how we can keep ourselves safe out there, because these days the internet is not as forgiving and cold as it used to be, as hot as it used to be. It is pretty cold. The answer was said by Kwesi. Maturity to decipher the moment to share is key. I think Kwesi got his answer. Kwesi.
Yay! 10 point, 10 point, 10
10
point,
points for Kwesi. And I
10
think we should
point,
bring
Quincy.
Kwesi into the conversation because he would also be able to help us with the AI stuff. So,
Oh,
Kwesi,
yeah.
if you're going to come help us keep our internet information private and protect ourselves, our internet identity, so that nobody impersonates Kwesi Frost and go and get married to a FIA.
Oh.
And and
Hey,
um
you
and
never
and
know what
still
people
and
can do
still
with your information.
still I know still all my what you call it, my little coins
Hey, the
change.
rich boys in the building who have internet money.
Rich boys in the house.
But
Make money off the internet.
we're going to end the conversation here. And in wrapping up, I would say that if you haven't done that yet, the Casa Podcast Premier League fantasy thing is
Mhm.
going strong. It's really going strong. Kwesi Frost has
Go
chickened out.
Chelsea. Go Chelsea. Go
My bro,
Chelsea.
my bro, my bro,
Go
my bro.
Chelsea. I don't even mean what I'm saying.
But if you haven't joined the league yet, please join the Casa Podcast Premier League. If your boss PlayStation is still up for grabs, so
Whose
please,
PlayStation?
if your boy is buying a PlayStation for this year's winner of the Casa
Oh, I
Podcast,
need a PlayStation, man. I need to start playing games.
yeah,
Oh,
you
no.
should. And if one of these days we would have to talk about gaming and the Casa Podcast, the gaming platform, and the website is also in construction, right? If your boy is working on the
Under,
website,
under construction.
yeah, it's under construction. You guys should get ready for the Casa Podcast website. If your boy is working hard on
Before
that,
the end of the month.
before the end of this month, Ifya is going to drop the Casa Podcast website. And Kwesi said he's got us. So Kwesi would be expecting you on the show. We're going to be
Tech,
talking about how we can protect ourselves online. Our
tech
privacy, so that
boys.
people don't have to Google us, but rather get to know us before they know us. And
Tech, tech, tech boys.
yes, we're going to get into
Techie.
some techie conversation. And yeah, I hope it's going to be helpful for everyone on here and how we protect ourselves online so that it doesn't affect us from, affect our chances of settling down and building something with someone. I know AY thinks it's a millennial case, but the Gen Zs are struggling as much as the millennials are struggling. So guys, thank you so much for joining the conversation. Thank you so much for the comments you sent in. We really appreciate it. And once again, from us here at the tribe, it's
Have a good week, guys.
bye.